Hey, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Jordan.
Alright.
So today we're going to be talking about comedies. What makes a good comedy? If there's anything that makes a good comedy, whether it's subjective or is there something objective about it. And from there, we'll talk about some comedies that we like and what made them good to us. And eventually we'll get to what make a bad comedy. Is it the execution? The time it was made? Just poor planning?
Writing, casting,
yeah. All that good stuff.
We're specifically talking about TV.
Yeah, TV in particular. So, with that being started, that being stated, let's get started.
That was kind of a mouthful, but okay.
Granted. Alright,
So we're starting with, what do we think makes a good comedy?
Yes. So, obviously, on some level, right, it's going to be subjective. We all like different things. I know, personally speaking, I'm not a fan of slapstick, and my humor tends towards the darker sort. But, on some level, there's also a certain objectivity about it in a weird way, like a general consensus. I.e., not everybody likes Seinfeld, but most people do. Most people would say that is a good example of comedy.
I think there are certain shows that everyone can agree on provides little to no value to society.
Yeah.
They're not clever, they're not funny to anyone. And I think even if you don't like certain comedy shows, you can see how someone else can find them funny, or you can see the value in them.
Yes.
So what do you think makes a good comedy?
Well, I think that execution is probably crucial. When you talk about execution, a lot of things play into that factor. You mentioned writing and casting, and that is part of the execution and the type of jokes that are going on. So while the humor part is important, the specific what type of jokes they're using, I feel like it's that execution that's key, because you could have a funny joke, but what if you didn't cast it right, or someone they didn't tell it right? Sometimes it does affect it.
I think the biggest thing is you need good characters, first of all.
It helps.
Especially in TV, because I think you can get away with a funny situation in a movie. Because you're just hanging out for an hour and a half. For the TV series, you could be hanging out for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a group of characters that you can basically feed off of for a really long time. That you can put in different situations, that you can evolve or change, and still keep them interesting and fresh. And I think that's something very hard for shows to figure out. And they kind of have to wing it in their first season to actually find that, find their place. And we saw that with a lot of series like Seinfeld.
Yeah, God, that first season was fucking awful. But later seasons they improved. They found their footing on what type of humor they wanted to use. So that is part of it too, figuring out what you want to do humor-wise.
It makes you kind of wonder, what series would have found their place if they had just been giving a little bit longer. And it also tells you something about, maybe the changing, if the show fails in the first month, we won't give it a chance. But maybe if we give it another month or two, it might have actually found its place. It does make you wonder.
Yeah, a lot of things could have. A lot of that is also dictated by, what network it's on, what deals being on, the power behind it. And so, I guess when we're talking about what makes a good comedy, we're talking about characters, execution, chances,
Okay, well, I think with comedy, there's a couple rules I think you shouldn't break. I think, you shouldn't make a joke that ruins a character completely. There's certain jokes that I think you can cross a line and then you just won't like a character anymore. I think we saw that, later in The Office, where, we just don't like Andy anymore.
Yeah, he's pretty damn unlikable.
And the character basically just crossed into unusability in the last season, I thought. But
oh, absolutely. They went on their way to make him horrible.
And so I think that's one rule a good comedy should follow is you shouldn't make jokes. You should make a joke at the expense of the character, but you should kind of more use the character to find the joke.
Yeah, because there's some characters that they'll say something really, really horrible. They could pull it off because of, how that character.
Yeah. You're right. There's certain characters where you expect a racist joke to come from them.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm cool with that because that's who I know who their character is.
You just expect it. Yeah.
But, imagine, if, Ted from How I Met Your Brother started spouting out racist shit.
That'd be weird.
I can kind of see it coming, but you can kind of see it coming from, Barney or something. Kind of like a racist, all Asian chicks are... But so you're kind of, I guess it's there's certain expectations built into the character, and you should know your characters really well when you're making a comedy series.
Know their limitations. It's important.
So what are some of your favorite comedies, Drew?
Well, I'm a big fan of Scrubs, as you know. Scrubs, Seinfeld, let's see, what else? I actually do like How I Met Your Mother for the most part. The League, Archer, things like that.
Do you like anything older than the 90s? Any of the classic series?
Not particularly.
Alright, so you're not an I Love Lucy fan or anything?
Not really. I mean, that we grew up watching that, but not really a big fan of it. I feel like part of the humor, it just also has to do with the time too. And that sort of stuff doesn't really appeal to me anymore, I don't really find that funny, or Three Stooges, or Leave It to Beaver. That doesn't really appeal to me.
Yeah. Well, there's some series I still like. Well, I like Cheers still.
Yeah. That get trickled over in the 90s, though, didn't it?
Yeah, that tricked over in the early 90s.
Yeah, so. And Seinfeld started in the 80s, so.
Yeah.
So, both of those lasted a while. So.
Yeah.
So I guess nothing really on the cusp of, that whole thing. I think I liked most of the stuff that just happened to appear, around the time that I was born. And then after. I did enjoy Fresh Prince. Bel-Air.
The thing is, I don't find Fresh Prince funny.
It had funny moments.
It had funny moments, but it's more I feel like a lot of it's nostalgia with Fresh Prince.
Maybe.
It's I remember. It's I kind of get a smile when Carlton's doing his dance. I'm not laughing out loud.
Yeah.
I don't know the song.
By I don't know.
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not unusual, yeah. All the good stuff. I hear you. There were some funny moments. I think it was just one of those things. It was a safe comedy. It had bits and pieces, and I guess nostalgia does play a factor in that particular one.
But I like The League, and I like Archer.
Yeah, and they're they have a new school of comedy going on, part of that, the good shit from FX, because FX, it has either, really good, funny stuff, and just bad, awful comedy.
Charlie Sheen, the Charlie Sheen show.
Anger Management?
Yeah, Anger Management. Is that actually based off the movie, or is that... Okay,
I don't think so, no. It's a different character.
Okay. Anyway,
Really? Selma Blair, you telling me? Oh, this jackass gets Selma Blair?
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Just say it.
With Archer in The League, I like them. I like them for certain stuff, but I find myself laughing out loud. But it's not how should I put it? It's not a show that I want to rewatch over and over. Do you know what I mean?
Which one? Both or
The League?
Oh, The League in particular.
Do you know what I mean? I find myself laughing out loud, but I don't want. But it's not a show I want to watch. I could watch. How
yeah, I know what you mean.
How we watch Seinfeld all the time during reruns, but I'm not sure I'd do that with The League.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't mean The League isn't a good one.
I know. I'm just saying it's a different type of thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm in the mood for I have to be in the mood for The League, but with Seinfeld, I can just be in any mood and just watch an episode.
Yeah. Because with The League, it's kind of it's almost hard to rewatch some episodes, and I think a lot of it is that some of the humor comes from shock value.
Yeah, shock and cringe.
Yeah, and and it's incredibly well done, because some people do things for shock value, it's really? Oh, really? Ooh, yeah, that's shocking. But no, some of the stuff are legitimately out of, left field, and you're just oh my fucking god. Because, they don't pull any punches, and... I hear you though.
But
it's hard to rewatch something.
I kind of have trouble with cringe humor. Like I had trouble with some of the earlier seasons of The Office, where they basically a lot of the episodes were based around Michael Scott, and like you're basically cringing at like what he's doing. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe he's saying this stuff.
Yeah, like kind of hitting your head.
Yeah, the worst one for that for me. Do you remember the episode Scott's Tots where he was like,
oh, the scholarship with the kids, and he took it away.
Well, he had promised a scholarship to the kids when they were like young, and he promised them a scholarship to college would be waiting for them. And of course, he doesn't have the money when time comes, so he has to tell them this. These kids think they have a college scholarship, a full ride. It's just like so hard to watch. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening.
He's a pretty horrible person there. Yeah. I don't know. And, so I guess another part about like having a good comedy is like wit. It's important, absolutely important, at least for me. You know, delivering things just like a very clever way sometimes, or if you're not gonna go the clever route, just hold nothing back. You know, just pull no punches and go all out, but make sure it's interesting.
Well, there's kind of like the South Park philosophy where their philosophy is either everything is okay or nothing is. And I think more shows are applying that now, especially on cable.
Yeah. And
it's kind of interesting that there's kind of that divide with like the new kind of adult show that was kind of the way it was paved with the animated comedies, like South Park and Family Guy and all of those, and The Simpsons, of course. Mm-hmm. And so like this thing where like you can have this more adult humor that used to be not allowed on the networks, and you can have the shock value and the stuff, and so like the comedy taste. I'm not sure if the taste has changed, but what's allowed has changed a lot.
Well, I mean, I think that is important though, like what's allowed, because it speaks about our society, you know, and how we've grown, or, you know, for better or for worse, how we changed and all that. And I feel like that does dictate what's funny. I mean, because back then, some things, even if we consider them funny, they might not have been funny to some people because they might have had different values, or it'd be so taboo. They just like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be laughing at this, and they can't find it funny. But I mean, we live in a world where it's very, very different. We're like, okay, so America is just like, it wants to break out of its shell, but at the same time, it's got like these Puritan ideals. I feel like in our generation, and like a generation before us, we're kind of like, oh, you know, fuck it. Why not do this? This is funny. It shouldn't matter.
Well, yeah, I think in a generation, shows like The League are going to be on network TV. Probably network TV probably won't exist by time in 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, and I know at least on cable, they finally let you say shit, and that's like on regular local stations too.
Well, people are saying bitch all the time on network TV now.
Yeah, they're allowed to do that, but I'm saying like they finally got to the shit on cable. And, of course, that only leaves one major one, which is fuck. And like, given some of the stuff that we see on TV, I find it very interesting that that's the way they draw the line.
Well, I think in 10 years, that's going to change.
I hope so. Because, like, you can talk about rape in a show, but just saying the word fuck is off limits, really?
Well,
priorities, man.
Well, the big thing is, like, we don't know, like, what TV's going to be like in 10 years just because of the internet.
If TV is going to stay.
Yeah. So, but like, which is another big change with comedy is with like everyone making YouTube videos and YouTube people getting shows and Twitter people getting shows. Like the shit my dad says guy got a show based off his Twitter, which became a book. And believe it or not, I actually read one of his books and they're funny. One of them was funny. The show was horrible, but one of his books was funny.
Interesting.
Which goes to show you how difficult making a TV show can be, because it's a casting thing. You have writers, you have directors, you have executives putting their input. So
and then it's just like the whole the struggle of the game in general, of having to week after week put out what should be consistently funny material. That is not easy, because you don't want to necessarily reuse jokes. Or if you do, you want to be able to do that tastefully, like have some recurring joke, but you don't want to overextend your hand there. So that's still got.
So another big change, I feel like comedies have become more serialized.
Yeah.
And so you've had recurring stories and like major cliffhangers, and
Trying to add some depth. Right?
yeah. And another big thing I think has changed from like the old comedies of like I Love Lucy and all that stuff. It's kind of started with like Cheers was like the will they won't they thing. You know what I'm talking about. And I think Cheers was the first big one with this. With Sam and Diane, and then everyone realized they could get like plot lines and tension and comedy from this.
Yeah, but it's a cheap trick.
It's become a major trope that's kind of been
overdone.
Well, every show does it now.
Yeah, so it's overdone. But I mean, even the best of comedies though do that, and at least they can make it interesting. I got annoyed with it in How I Met Your Mother, to be honestly. And then they're still doing that when you think about it. It's like, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I like a lot of comedies that have come out in recent years because I'm like, they have a certain relatability around them. I mean, you could just be around and shooting shit with your friends, and you say some things, and you see some of that more and more in some comedies. Whereas before, they try to draw a line somewhere. But yeah, probably from around that Cheers time. And then Onward, you get like some raunchier stuff, like more open with it, less subtle, and then some of the subtle stuff is just done really well. So I think times affect that.
Well, I think Modern Family is probably the biggest throwback comedy. Like even if it has like gay guys, it's probably the biggest like throwback comedy of them all. Where it's like, it's like pretty safe humor, but like it's not like Family Guy or Archer or any of those shows. It's safe humor, but I still find it funny.
Oh yeah, it's fucking hilarious. Like, and that says something. So you don't have to be raunchy to be funny. And if you are going to be raunchy, you actually do have to make it funny.
You have to be really clever.
Yeah, because then otherwise it's just like, why, what? So it's raunchy and I'm supposed to laugh at that? Yeah, but go on.
Yeah. And I guess two shows we should probably talk about were that have good things and bad things. Like probably Community, where I think a lot of people enjoy the meta humor and the in-jokes and kind of the references. And that's also related to, I think, another NBC comedy that ended this year, 30 Rock.
Ah, yeah, that was good stuff.
Where there's a lot of cultural references and parodies and stuff. And I think, like, Community has taken it too far. And it's relied on these references. Like, oh, you recognize that. I should find that funny. I think they've taken it too far.
Because now it's gotten to the point, okay, a lot of the meta stuff that they did, it's like, yeah, that's kind of awesome. And then sometimes, like, you have a character like Abed who's, obsessed with that stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, I feel like we've gotten too meta. It's like, that doesn't make it funny.
The meta references, it's gotten out of hand, I think. And I think they're like, people liked this before, let's use it again.
Because, if it's not broke, right, let's break it. But, yeah, because although I think there was one where it was a show within a show within a show, right?
Yeah, I think that was the first one of the season. It's the first one of season,
whatever.
This 4.
Yeah, season 4.
And Community, by the way, has just been renewed, is of the day we're recording it, it's just been renewed for another season.
Which I actually don't think was the best move, but whatever. I mean, it's, because now I don't have any faith that it'll go out on a high note. I mean, I could be proven wrong, and I hope that I am. But the way it ended, even though I didn't like the ending of season finale, I do think that's probably a good point to end it, perhaps.
Yeah, well, another comedy I've liked recently that's just been canceled is Happy Endings.
Yeah, oh man, so it did get canceled.
Yeah, there won't be another season. There's a chance that it could be renewed it could be brought to another channel, kind of like Cougar Town got brought to TBS. They're talking about maybe USA or something. But like, it started off weak. The first half of the first season is pretty weak.
And that says something that was able to survive with that. But honestly, like while we're talking about that, oh wait, or did you want to? I was just gonna mention one thing about that before you go on.
You can keep going.
I was just gonna mention, like, the fact that it was weak was actually a big turnoff for me, and I didn't really give it another chance until recently. Because, like, the first couple episodes that I saw, I was just like, this is fucking boring.
Well, I think it's just like, what they realized was they needed to take the characters off the leash, and they did, and they let them go to, like, new heights, and, like, their humor isn't really built off culture references.
No.
It's more about, like, these crazy characters and their interactions, and it was just funny situations.
Yeah, because before, it was just too tame, and if anything, it seemed like a mild drama with comedy elements. And that's not what they wanted to go for. They wanted to make it a comedy.
Well, it was too close to trying to be another Friends clone,
like,
or
that's no good.
Yeah, another Friends clone, or How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother is probably the most successful of the Friends shoot-offs.
Well, I mean, then all this still leads back to Seinfeld, I maintain. Because I feel like How I Met Your Mother is kind of like a Friends shoot-off, and like the styling that is. And Friends, even though it takes it in a slightly different direction, it has a larger cast. I feel like it definitely took inspirations from Seinfeld, and it came out while Seinfeld was still like in his prime, actually, which I find interesting.
I think Friends takes more from Cheers than Seinfeld.
Think so?
It's more.
Because there's one again off against off.
Yeah, there's more about the relation. Oh, there's more about relationships, and it's more of a. Cheers had a larger group of characters, consistent characters, and I guess it took elements from both. But I think
both. Man.
But I think it's more Cheers. But I think like Friends, it became so popular for such a long time. It made so much money.
10 years.
That they kept if you're just a writer on there, you automatically got a new series. Like, all these Friends writers, they got new series, and they were all crappy. I think most of them crappy. There might have been one or two that did well, but like, everyone got rich off that series. And they tried to all the networks tried to make clones off them, and I can't even name them.
Because they're like pretty forgettable. But
there were like 20 of them.
And you know what's sad though? If we're talking about Friends, speaking of bad shit that came as a result of that, Joey, which was a spin-off from Friends. It's like you took one of their main characters who was not a strong character, not that any of them were strong, and then you gave that character his own show, and then it's just like anything that was funny about that character, he's just really not that funny. They took away.
That's another thing, like, there's certain like, writers need to learn. It's kind of like, you need to be there's certain characters that work best in small doses, and if you give us too much of them, we'll hate them. We'll find them annoying. They become the Jar Jar Binks of that TV show. That's right, the Jar Jar Binks of that TV show. But like, there's certain characters where if you bring them every now and then, they do something crazy or they say something funny. We like them. Like, I like Creed on The Office.
I haven't really seen him be unfunny, and it could be because they're using him sparingly. And like Krieger and Archer. Like, every scene that I've seen him, I can honestly say I found hilarious. Because he comes in there when you least expect it, and he just says something just ridiculous and funny, or just something so horrifying you can't help but laugh. It's like, oh my god, did he just say that?
Yeah, like, can you imagine a Creed episode of The Office? Like, people would be like, oh, I love Creed, I can't, but the episode would have no plot, it'd just be like, weird shit, you'd be like,
what the hell's going on? You'd walk away and you would feel dirty. And I want to say the same could be said about Krieger, but I actually do think you could have an episode around Krieger and actually have it have a really fucked up plot. But yeah, some characters do work in small doses, and in the Joey's case, I don't even think he really worked that well in small doses. He may have occasionally said something funny. So giving a character like him his own show doesn't work, and I think sometimes that could be a bad move, like from a comedy standpoint. Giving another character a spin-off. It's not the first time it's happened. Sometimes it works out. Which reminds me, with Cheers, right? I don't know what to say about Frasier.
I like Frasier.
It had moments. It had its moments.
Well, the thing with Frasier was, every episode had different style of humor. And you need to realize that and accept it. Where, like, there were some episodes that would be... There would be some episodes that would be, like, slapstick. There were some episodes that would be, like, a farce. like where like all the characters have lies and they all end up together and the lies collide. There'd be some episodes that would be like an episode of Cheers or Friends where it's about the relationships. There'd be some episodes that are like just crazy shit just happens. And some that are just like very subtle or like Modern Family, and you just kind of like the writers just went with what worked at the time. Like whatever they just found funny, they did. And so like you can watch any episode of Frasier, and usually it's decent or it's good. Yeah. There's not really a bad episode of Frasier. There's a lot of mediocre episodes.
I think that's the thing. It's more mediocre than anything. And so, I mean, we've been talking a lot of live action shows, but I mean, there's some that I find that are good and animated. Some where it's hard to classify. Like we talked about it a little when we were talking about like our cartoon stuff, but like Family Guy and American Dad, I think they could be really good when they want to be good. I don't know if I'd count them as good as a whole, although if I had to count one of them as good as a whole, I would say American Dad.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have realized that American Dad is far superior to Family Guy.
It's much more witty, and I was about to say classier, but I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. Like, I feel like it's more adult in a way. Like, Family Guy has found a system and it works. American Dad, it's been a lot looser with that, adapting a structure to the times. And I think it's, like, a lot of people haven't given it a chance because, Seth MacFarlane had Family Guy and that was, like, the breakthrough. And everyone's like, no, it's just gonna be another Family Guy. It very much isn't.
Yeah. Well, another thing is, I think, our favorite episodes of Family Guy tend to be, like, the adventures episodes with Stewie and, like, they're time traveling or going to alternate dimensions. And so, why doesn't Seth MacFarlane do a sci-fi show? I feel like he just go full crazy.
He should, because there's a lot of moments where it's like that. Like for instance, the last episode that we saw of American Dad, they had a lot of crazy stuff like with that.
Yeah, the penultimate episode of the season which is basically like an episode of Futurama. We talked about that.
Yeah, it's like you can't unlearn that. But yeah, he does a lot of cool sci-fi moments. Minecraft.
But, yeah. I was thinking about something. I was kind of thinking like Futurama and Scrubs are kind of similar.
They are.
It's kind of similar, like where the main character is kind of like this naive, loses track of the situation character, but then there's like an undercurrent of seriousness that can pop up at moments, and it's. I think it's very similar styles, even if it's like.
Yeah, because a lot of humor comes from these like wacky moments, and then there are serious moments here and there. Though I do think Scrubs handles the serious moments a lot better than Futurama, because I think like in Futurama they feel way more out of place. With Scrubs, I feel like it flows a lot better.
That may be due to the fact that at the end of the day, they're doctors and they're working at hospitals.
It's very serious, yeah.
And so at the end of the day, they have to be serious and be professionals. And
then Futurama is like they're a delivery company, and they don't take their job seriously.
They're always undermining the seriousness of the situation.
Yeah, so when they try to do it serious, it's like, Also, I do think Scrubs handles relationships a lot better.
The only episode I thought they really did that well was Luck of the Friars with the drama.
Oh my god, that was an awesome episode. Yeah.
Where he finds out about his brother and everything.
Yeah. It was pretty good. And honestly though, I like both, but I do like Scrubs a little bit better if you ignore that whole last season that wasn't really Scrubs.
Well, I also felt like the season before, there are certain moments where the silliness got too far.
What, which...
the last season of Scrubs. I'm not talking about the Scrubs medical school thing.
You're talking about the actual last season?
Yeah.
Really? I thought that they did a pretty good job, though.
Okay.
What do you mean?
There was that one fairy tale episode.
No, that wasn't...
Was that a different season?
That was season 8.
Maybe that was the weak season, I'm thinking.
Yes, that was also during the writer's strike.
Okay, so yeah, there was that one season where I felt like it got weak for a little bit.
Yeah, that was season 8. The one after that, before the medical schools, like kind of spin-off, that was season 9. I think they ddid an excellent job.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, it had a decent finale.
Yeah, which kind of pisses you off, actually. I mean, and you know why? Because it had decent season finale, series finale, and It had decent plot and all that, and then it's like they made the intern show, which was gonna be called Interns and not Scrubs, but ABC were being obnoxious and decided, oh, let's make it part of Scrubs, which means now it has a 10th season and it's shit.
Well, the thing is, like, you can't really blame anybody because they're just trying to. Their crew has mouths to feed.
Oh no, I get them. It's ABC's fault.
Yeah, I mean, at worst you can say it kept some guys employed for a year.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly though, if you do sit back and watch it, it wasn't complete shit. It was mediocre at best. It's just like the fact that they tied it in with Scrubs is what made it horrible. If it was its own show, you could be like, oh, this is just a mediocre show.
It wasn't as bad as like some other sitcoms that are out there. It just wasn't good, or the Scrubs that we knew.
You know, and in fact, I felt like it was so obnoxious because it undid like pretty much any character development by all the characters. Like, I mean, JD had been immature for most of Scrubs, and he was still immature in that last season, but he actually changed a decent amount, and so did Turk. I mean, they were both by this point fathers, and they had some distance between each other. JD had to move away, and him and Elliot, they had to, go somewhere else, and they had to discuss what that meant for their friendship and stuff like that. And then in a later season, they're both still like incredible children, and it's just awful.
I like to call these like kind of moments like fanficky, and
like shitty fanfic. Yeah,
and this kind of happened like different media. Like the end of the epilogue to Harry Potter felt like a fanfiction, and yeah, we won't get into that. The last season of the Scrubs sequel felt like a fan fiction. Like it felt like someone trying to recreate Scrubs from what they knew, but they weren't actually writing Scrubs. It was just like someone from the outside trying to recreate it and from the leftovers.
It makes sense, when you put it like that, because like these are what the characters are known for, not what they ended up as. And for Harry Potter, I mean, I'm pretty sure J.K. Rowling was just trolling the internet, found that in some really horrible Harry Potter fanfic. He's like, you know what? I could put that in my book. Give it a little nod. Make it interesting. Piss off a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, I think Scrubs is actually a really good example of comedy done right for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is not without flaws, and as you pointed out, it had a weak season. In fact, I think like a few weak seasons. I think it had its highlight like right in the middle, like seasons 2 to 5 were its best. And I'll add in the 9th one too, though. Like 2 to 5 and 9 were the best. But yeah, so we had a lot of good comedies out there, and we cannot talk about good comedies without mentioning the Boondocks.
All right.
Okay, come on.
Yeah,
tell me that's not a good one.
It's a good comedy.
It's just, it can be.
Now, one thing I find interesting is that it's kind of like, you know about Django Unchained? Quentin Tarantino's about the slave and everything. It's kind of like that, where like, there's this problem where like, if you watch it with a white person, they don't know if they're supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, they can be afraid to like, say, I found that funny, because they don't know if it's racist or not.
Well, and as much as they throw around the word nigger, I can see why some people are like, oh gosh, and I can, be offended. But like, I've known some white people that do like find it funny, but you're right, there's definitely that thing there, because they don't want to say that they do find certain things funny because they don't want to offend you. And you gotta have fun with that too. But yeah, I see your point. Like, it's very good, but it's also very offensive. It's very good at being offensive, but in a good way.
Well, it's like if you've spent a large part of time, if you spend any significant time in your life in a black or urban neighborhood,
you'll get it.
You can understand it, and to be honest, if you laugh, it's not racist at all.
No, it's not.
As long as you understand the joke, it's not racist.
It's just like, I do feel like you have a better understanding if you did grow up in a community like that, or, your family is predominantly like that. I mean, but let's be honest, they make fun of everybody in there.
Yeah, they make fun of white people, black people.
White people, black people, or other races, politics, stuff like that. There's a lot of good shit there. And like some episodes, they just go off the chain. There's actually like, I think my favorite one to date is probably still the one where they try to kidnap Oprah. And they had like the two crazy white boys there, Jen Rummy and
Well, I like to think of it as a black, better quality South Park, actually, because it's kind of like South Park. They try to do a lot of episodes where they're trying to do a message or something, and they may have like a character stand for something, and like Boondocks does that a lot.
Yeah,
but Boondocks, I think they spend whereas South Park spends like a week on their episode, Boondocks spends months. And there's a difference in quality between the average episode of Boondocks and the average episode of South Park. And when you consider that they have a shorter run, it needs to be better.
Yeah.
On average. But.
And for the record, though, I want to point out, I feel like it's kind of other way around. I feel like South Park's become more like the Boondocks. Because it didn't start... No, I'll explain. It didn't start getting more like that until like later on. And by that point, the Boondocks was already out.
No. It was way before that.
No.
It was like season 2 or 3 where they started doing that.
I don't know about that.
You haven't watched that much South Park as I have. So you can't really debate me on this.
I'm just saying, I have seen some, and I don't feel like it was that, like...
You haven't seen as much episodes as I have, but... Just...
No, I've seen a bunch of... Like,
I know, but you don't even know what seasons they are, or anything.
That's because I had no reason to care where the seasons lie.
Okay.
I know that... You gotta remember, I've been watching... I don't go out of my way to watch it, but I've seen it pretty much from the beginning. Yeah. You gotta remember, I went to Southwest. That was... Oh my god. And they really liked that show there. And I don't know if middle schoolers probably should be watching that, but, you know, we all saw little episodes from there.
It's not that bad.
It's a little offense.
Trust me, it's not that bad. It's been over exaggerated. And they actually made fun of that before.
I don't know. It can be pretty bad if you're young, though, I feel. Like, maybe not so much when you're older. But, anyway, still, like, a lot of Boondocks is taken from, like, the comics, and that's been going on longer.
Yeah. Well, like,
so that was my thing. Like, the Boondocks is just like, it finally got the show, but it had the comics going on much longer. So they were with the messages and like that way before they were. It's just like getting on TV, they were able to just like, fuck it. We'll do this how we want to do.
Okay, I don't think it really matters who did it first.
No, but,
just
saying, give the Boondocks his credits, dude.
They're Newton and Leibniz.
Yes?
Wherever. They found it calculus independently of each other.
Or Leibniz.
Anyway,
yeah. So there's that, but I think that is a pretty good example of good comedy. Like, although I think like some people think like all the race stuff probably deters a lot of other people from watching it, or they think it detracts from the humor. But I don't think so, because it's like it does actually happen like that in real life sometimes, you know.
Yeah. So let's get to bad comedies.
Oh dear God.
Yeah, bad comedies.
Oh God.
I don't like ripping on things. I mean, like,
I do when they deserve it.
I don't. I mean, like,
or feel like it has to be said sometimes.
There's just certain when I don't enjoy something, I just prefer to ignore it.
Actually, yeah, I get that.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I don't want to go like a long rant about something. I mean, if I happen to watch it, if I happen to watch it, I'll go on a rant.
Yeah, or if it comes up in conversation, or just someone else brings it up.
Okay, so. What do you think makes a bad comedy?
I'm gonna say one, execution. A piss poor understanding of what it actually means to be funny, horrible wit, shitty casting, bad writing. And sometimes, believe it or not, and I know it may sound odd, but just nothing that makes it pop. Being mediocre.
No chemistry.
I mean, because there are some things that are mediocre and it's not bad, but sometimes mediocre can make a bad comedy. Sometimes you don't want a comedy to be mediocre. You want it to stand out and not necessarily just do things for shock value, but, you know, actually you could watch it and say, oh, this is funny for this reason or that reason, or, oh, wow, this is funny. Not just like, yeah, this is okay. You don't watch the show and say, oh, yeah, this is okay.
So, yeah, another thing.
What about you?
Huh? It falls into, like, familiar tropes where... Like, I think the one I hate most is, oh, I saw something, I misunderstood it, but we don't talk about it, and so we have like a 20-minute fighting and avoid each other, and then at the end, we talk about like, oh, we made a mistake! Oh, we're friends again. I hate that plot line, where it's like, if you spent like 1 minute just on the phone going like, hey, I saw you and my girlfriend were on top of each other, and they're like, oh, we just tripped and fell. I was like, oh, okay. It's like 1 minute. 1 minute can solve this problem. Why am I watching this show? Now, there's been some horrible comedies recent that I've heard over the years. Stuff like Work It. Do you remember the show, Jordan?
Must I remember it? I'd rather I didn't. It's just like, because every time I think about that, it reminds me that one, someone greenlit this shit, and two, it's just like, it happened, and we all let it happen.
Okay,
no, it got canceled.
If you don't remember the show, it's kind of like copies of Bosom Buddies, the old Tom Hanks show. Where
I still maintain that is shitty too. I don't care what anyone says.
I never saw it, but where basically they dress as women so that they can get, well, whereas Tom Cruise, he did to get like an apartment. I mean, Tom Hanks to get an apartment. They do it to get jobs.
Tom Cruise.
Because oh, sure, I'm back to Tom Cruise crossovers.
Oh god, it's awful.
But they do it because apparently men can't find jobs in the economy. Because apparently the world's out to get men. It's a man session.
And you gotta appreciate the time in which it came out, where, like, men were dominating the job market. It's like, oh, really? And men...
Well, it's like most of the company's Fortune CEOs are men, but
Yeah, I know, but it's like, it was even worse back then, but yeah.
We're gonna ignore... But, well, no. Well, Work It came out like 2 years ago.
No, I thought you were talking about the other one.
Oh, Bosom Buddies. No, I'm talking about... That's the plot of Work It, where it's like, it's a man session. And so they need to do it to get jobs. They need to cross-dress to do
It's like, you just like cross-dressing, admit it. Okay, we're more open age. We're not gonna judge you for it.
And they're like... And they make horrible jokes, like, they make a reference to, like, the rape scene in, what's that movie?
Clockwork Orange?
Accused, I think.
Oh, Accused.
Where, like, a woman gets, like, gang raped over a pinball machine. And it's like, how is that funny? How is that funny?
And if you notice, after that question, there was silence. That is going to be everyone's response unless they're fucked up beyond belief. So it's like, obvious to say that didn't last long. But, yeah, so there are a couple things that, contribute to a bad comedy, and I do think, like, that whole being mediocre does play a role in that. Like, and I know, like, the show just came out, and it hasn't been out that long, but How to Live with Your Parents for the Rest of Your Life. That just seems incredibly mediocre.
Well, there's something about it, it's like...
It's something awful.
I'm not laughing.
No, you're just kind of like, you get that they're making a joke, but you're not laughing because you just can't muster up that kind of passion at a joke. You just can't find funny.
There's something with the characters that doesn't...
Click. Gel.
It's very weird. Where there's some points where like you're just familiar with the character, where you're just like, I like this character, or I find this character interesting and funny. And there's just some points where you're like, where you're just aware you're watching a TV show, and you're like, I don't find this funny.
And also, it's like, I also think that the performances aren't the best. Like, I mean, I've seen Sarah Chalk on a couple things. And I know she could bring it better than that, but her character in this one is very different from a lot of other characters she played. And Brad Garrett's also in the show, and it's like, why are you here?
Well, his
character is not funny.
His character on the show is like a free-loving stepdad or something, and
ew,
it's weird. Like Sarah Chalk's character, like she's basically playing the character from How I Met Your Mother, where she's like the single mom, except for she's not like a doctor. She doesn't have her life together in this one, but she's basically the same character, really.
But that character in How I Met Your Mother was way more interesting.
Not really.
Way more than that. That being said, but she was also way more horrible given how that went. And then there's some things though, with these types of comedies, because there's some that are just like bad overall, and then some of these mistakes that we talk about in making a bad comedy appear and shows that we'd otherwise find good. Like, I feel like How I Met Your Mother made a lot of missteps. Some things that would classify it as a bad comedy at times.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it could be really good or it could be bad. It's had some horrendous seasons.
Well, yeah, it's had some weak seasons, and I wouldn't say horrendous. They
There
were
was at least one horrendous.
Okay. I don't think there's anything that was like screw you, this is like work it bad.
No, nothing like that. I mean, nothing that would make you ever stop watching the show completely, but just kind of like, really? I guess you kind of look at it like a disappointed parent, you know, at the child. It's like, I know you could do better than this. This D and this reporter, come on, you can get an A. I've seen you do it.
Is there another comedy like How I Met Your Mother where they like play with time? Like, it's very unique. I think that's why a lot of people love it.
I don't know.
Because
I don't think they do.
And like it's so unique because it can change its format and its style depending on the episode. Like, each episode can be different, and you can have like flashbacks within flashbacks within flashbacks. You can have flash forwards, flashbacks, flash things. It's very interesting, and they really play off they really take advantage of the narration scheme.
Yeah, pretty good at that.
But I guess that's another thing that's a good comedy originality. Bad comedies tend to be like did you see the like Till Death was like very unoriginal, like with the like, oh, I'm the typical husband with the wife, and she's my ball and chain. Oh, I don't like her, but at the end of the day I love her type thing. And at the last, like, if do you remember the last season of Till Death?
The last season was fucking hilarious because they were like they were breaking a fourth wall all over the place.
Yeah, well, see, at the last season they were like, screw it, we know we're
gonna get
I didn't find it funny. I found it interesting. I didn't find it funny, but I found it interesting because they were like
some funny moments.
They were like, screw this, and they broke the mold on what they were doing.
Yeah, and also they had that pretty hot chick that was on The Office for a little bit. And that was a plus. But I was not as offended by that show as you were. It's like, it's not bad. But I did like that a little bit more, but I guess that is part of it. Like, you let go of the restraint. So, like, I think playing it safe does play a factor, and, you know, whether it ends up being good or bad. I mean, sometimes it's a factor. But, what about some other things that are just bad? Do you know any that are really bad off the top of your head?
There's
some bad ones I just can't remember, you know?
There's shit my dad says, which everyone just could tell from, like, the trailers for the show. There was something off of the show. Am I a big thing? I think bad jokes, poor casting. Like, remember how William Shatner is the dad?
Oh! I remember now!
Yes, that might have been a little overdramatic, just a tad.
Maybe, but I just remember, like, the commercials for it were just bad. Because, like, you're just saying this stuff because you're trying to get the idea across that, oh, he's an offensive guy. It's like you're trying too hard. You're trying too goddamn hard.
That's another thing. They're gonna be...
sometimes that's a problem. Trying too hard. Like, we get it. You're trying to be funny. God, just, like, let your jokes speak for themselves. Don't let us know that you're making the joke. Don't say, oh, we're making a joke. We're trying to make you laugh. Haha. Don't do that. Just don't.
Remember when I said I didn't like Hangover Part 2?
Yeah. That was why?
That's another reason. They tried too much to make it too crazy. You're like, I see what you're trying. You're trying to redo and trying too hard to recreate the first movie. But
yeah, okay. You know, speaking of that, like, not the Hangover, just like trying too hard. You know, a show I really wanted to like, but I just have difficulty liking it, or at least going out of my way to watch it.
What?
Two Broke Girls. Sometimes they have funny moments, but they try too fucking hard. Like,
the
vagina jokes. Try too much. Yeah.
They always make like a joke about vaginas and
vagina jokes can be funny, but not when you're overusing it and not when you're telling it horribly.
Yeah, like, girls don't make vagina jokes every day. They might make one every now and then, just if it pops up. But like, to make it like every episode, or make these like weird, like these like crass sex jokes, like, I think, and that happened in the later seasons of 2.5 Men too.
Oh god, that's one we gotta talk about too.
With like penis and dick jokes and
yeah. But first, I'm gonna finish the thing with the Two Broke Girls saying, just like when they're not trying that hard, it could be funny sometimes, and if not that, sometimes actually endearing. I mean, they have good chemistry, the two main characters, the two girls, but it's like sometimes they really try way too hard.
Well, I think it has a good premise where it's like, about two broke people trying to become rich. And so you have like a set goal that you're trying to reach, and so you can follow them as they evolve and move on. But like the side characters are horrible on that show.
Yeah, and God, I forgot. What was it Kat Dennings? Her character, like the brunette. I forget what her character's name in the show is. Now, see, I want to like her character. She's bitter. She's cynical. You know, you kind of think, okay, I can like that character, but she tries probably the hardest, and it's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, she's trying too hard to be that girl, that clever, witty, sarcastic person.
Yeah, it's like, don't just try to just be that girl. Let it be chill.
It's like every line is is sarcasm. And one thing I was pleasantly surprised by was the other blonde girl was not just completely dumb. She was actually kind of smart.
They show that many times, actually, because it's like she actually, she had her degree in business and stuff like that, and she actually does know how to do some things, but like originally they did try to play her off as just this dumb, rich, privileged girl, and then it's like, oh, no. And on top of that, she's actually adaptable. I think she's the more likable character, and given, you know, my preference about characters, I would have thought it would have been the cynical one.
But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised, like they didn't go full on with that stereotype.
And that was probably for the
It
best.
actually gave the character depth, like kind of depth with that. But.
Kind of. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a good thing. And while we're on the topic of CBS shows, you mentioned 2.5 Men.
Does anyone still watch that show?
I watch it every now and then.
Okay, I stopped watching it.
Well, you know how I am. I need background things.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I know.
sometimes I'm like, when I'm thinking of that, like, oh, I guess that's something that could be in the background. And occasionally they do still have funny moments, but it's just so weird at this point. And it's even more hilarious when you know that the kid that played Jake just flipped the fuck out, and then he's like, oh shit, I have a contract and I do kind of want that money. And then it seems like they went out of their way to make his character even more disgusting and crass, since he said he had a problem with them being disgusting and crass.
I actually think next season he's only going to be like he's not going to be in every episode. He's only going to be like every now and then.
Well, he was already like that in this season, and I think it is going to be like that more so because at the end of this season, I think he went to Japan or something.
Yeah, that's what I've read. So he's not going to be in that many episodes.
Yeah, but it's just kind of funny knowing like the behind the scenes stuff, because he's like, oh yeah, people should not be watching this show because it's too crass, and he had the whole 7-Day Adventist thing going on. And it just got
I really don't care about that, but
yeah, but no, it's just like it's funny knowing that he still has to make these horrible crass jokes, even with that.
One thing I think we've forgotten to talk about, the big elephant in the room, the biggest comedy on television right now. You know what I'm talking about.
Big Bang?
The Big Bang Theory. Now, a lot of people on the internet despise the show. They actively despise it. They hate people who like it. They hate the creator's show. They hate the characters on the show. They believe it patronizes people. They think it demeans intelligent people. They think it demeans nerds. They think it demeans people who like pop culture, Star Wars, and all that stuff. They think it's you know, they think the whole joke is making fun of them. Now, you and I both disagree with this.
Very much so. Let me point out one major thing. Where is, like, you know, you mentioned 2.5 Men, made by the same guy. Where, like, a lot of their stuff is just kind of run-of-the-mill, and yeah, they have some good moments here and there. I feel like more effort's put into Big Bang. And it does, okay, yeah, it makes fun of that sort of, a lot of those sort of cultural things, but oftentimes I feel like they're actually celebrating it. You know? I mean, and you see this through sometimes, like, there are some characters who aren't stereotypes that happen to be intelligent, or they're interesting, and then you see, like, people like Penny getting into more stuff that most people would say geekish, and she's supposed to represent, you know, the normal girl, or, you know, that tomboyish girl that, you know, does her own little thing. And also my major thing is they actually do go through the effort of, you know, making some things are accurate, and it's not about like saying these people represent this culture. It's like, no. All you need to know is there are people out there that exist. It's more about the characters, not the stereotype. And I do admit, when it started, it probably did seem like it was more about the stereotype. But as you get on, it's just that the main characters are all fucked up. And then also, my major thing is, like, what about a character like Bernadette? She's incredibly smart, cool,
Normal.
and fairly normal, yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, I think, like, we're in this kind of like Star Wars, math, science kind of thing, and we're not offended by it.
No.
Like I think a lot of people take it too seriously. A lot of people have probably been picked on because of like stuff they liked, and they probably don't, and they probably like, you know, reflect that back onto the show, and they think they're making fun of them. And I don't think they are. I think they actually kind of like people. They like people like Leonard and Sheldon who have these little quirks and everything. And if you go to like a convention, like
a lot of people do like it. It just
what's the convention in Baltimore?
Comic-Con?
No,
There is a Baltimore Comic-Con.
New
York Comic-Con too. And
but the
in
one
Los Angeles.
the anime one.
Otakon.
Otakon. You find people actually like that, and so I don't.
I've been to Otakon. I know that for a goddamn fact. Some of those people are fucking insane. Like they'll be nice as shit. Like they're all like nice, chill people. But it's, God, you're fucking insane.
But it's also like they kind of started like in the recent episode. They were talking about like how like Penny's like, I wish I kind of had like 1/10 of the passion you do about something.
Yeah, and I think that was a good thing and a real nod. And also, I mean, like you said, you do find these people out there. And you don't have to go to Otakon to do it. Like, okay, right? Let me tell you, I know plenty of people like that. It's like, God, y'all make us look bad. So, cause it's like, and again, I think there are several examples within the show where they're saying that not everybody who's smart, is like this, or not everyone who likes, something like Star Wars or something is bad. And hell, like, even within that community, like take, like the character Amy, right? She's really smart, really nerdy, and she doesn't like Star Wars or anything. Like, she thinks it's silly, and they think it's not. And you see them going the extra mile when they bring in like guest stars from, these franchises, or, they get some big name and stuff. I feel like the whole point of the show in general was because there wasn't a show like that. There was no show celebrating people that, are in academia. Most of the things are, everyone tries to have the everyman, the every woman, the normal people. You never see this shit. And like in our like society, right? We have a lot of people that are in really academic fields. We have a lot of people who are in the math and science and engineering. And we have a lot of these people growing up with these sitcoms that have nothing to do with the stuff that they like later on. So it's nice to see that sort of thing. Now, I do admit they didn't quite know how to handle it at first, but you can see as it goes on, they make such a strong emphasis on their jobs and these cultures, but they also show that they are people too. Even if they're quirky and sometimes you just don't believe some of the things they do, they do show that they grow, that they have feelings like everyone else, that they do want to be normal, or if they don't want to be normal, they at least want to, learn more about people. So I feel like a lot of flack it's getting is just ridiculous. And besides, even if you still want to have this flack and you want to say, oh yeah, it's making fun of I guess what would be considered the nerd culture, and I think that's a subjective thing. Like, I know a lot of people who are okay with being called a nerd, but I'm not cool with that. So I don't think it's making fun of nerd culture or anything. But even if you say that it is, it's still fucking funny. You don't care.
Yeah, it's very subjective. Some people may find it funny, we find it funny.
Yeah. Well, that's the important part. Fuck them. Besides, I do like some of the jokes because, I'll see a math joke or a science joke or, engineering stuff, and it's like, I get that, that's funny. Or occasionally you do see them, botch it, and they just said something so it sounded smart, and you're like, no. Now, Futurama, I think, he does take more care than them with that, and I think that says something. Because they have a lot of jokes in that, and Futurama doesn't get half the flack.
Yeah. So, do you want to... I want to touch on real quick, what future comedies are going to be coming out.
Okay.
The big ones, there's going to be Super Clyde, that may be coming out. I should say,
Maybe, yeah.
The pilots may or may not be picked up. But here's what's that on slate right now. Super Clyde, which is going to have, Ron, who's going to be starring the guy who played Ron in Harry Potter, which is about a awkward fast food employee who somehow comes in a huge amount of money and decides to spend it on becoming a secret superhero.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's going to be kind of Britishy because it's going to star Stephen Fry and Rupert Grint.
Yeah.
Mom, which is going to have Anna Faris. And it's another Chuck Lorre sitcom. It was just that seems like kind of standard fare. I don't know. There's one that's like Andy Samberg, and he's gonna be like a police officer, and so I'm kind of interested in that one actually. And it's gonna have Andre Braugher, and Terry Crews, and that's pretty interesting. So hopefully they can go crazy with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam Sandberg does have some legitimately funny moments, some of the things he does, but I don't know if he's not really like a strong actor in like film and stuff like that, so maybe TV will give him something better. I don't know. But I mean, cause we know a lot of stuff from like Saturday Night Live and, the Lonely Island sort of shit. And that, the Lonely Island, oh my god, they're fucking funny. And because, they understand music while doing the parody and making something interesting. And like, dude, Terry Crews, that dude gets work.
Yeah. Robin Williams is coming back with Sarah Michelle Gellar as a father-daughter advertising duo. So I don't know about that.
Oh, I think you know about that.
Robin Williams might be funny in small doses. I don't know if this...
I don't think Robin Williams is funny in any dose.
This could be another Shit My Dad Says. Although, the guy who did Shit My Dad Says is going to be having another comedy.
Should he be allowed to?
And that's I Suck at Women. That's going to be about how he sucks at women, I guess. And then there's another one with Will Arnett playing a recently divorced dad trying to divorce the man, trying to keep the end of his marriage a secret from his parents. So it seems kind of like I don't know, like a plot of a bad comedy movie.
I guess like his other show got canceled.
Yeah, Up All Night got canceled.
That was really boring.
Okay, something very weird happened.
Oh.
Okay, well, they decided to like halt the production of the show, and they want to transition it into a comedy, kind of like The Big Bang Theory, where they would have a laugh track. So it'd be going from the style it had, where it's like a, just with no laugh track and like cameras to like one with like sets and laugh tracking kind of thing, which is very different style. So that's very weird to just like change the style of the show midway.
Yeah.
And I think the main actress said, "This sounds stupid. I'm leaving." I forgot her name. She's in a bunch of stuff, but I forgot her name.
I think I know what you're talking about now. But yeah, I can't say I blame her on that. It's just weird. Oh, and real quick, while we're talking about that, laugh tracks. Not a fan.
Yeah, me neither.
And I actually, like, one of the things that I really liked about Scrubs is that they don't have one. I mean, most of the time I ignore them. But like with Scrubs, right? They didn't have one. I think it was kind of funny that, they had a show that was like a tribute to the dude that, one of the dudes that wrote Cheers, and they had a laugh track in there, and it just stood out because it's like, you don't really pay attention to the laugh tracks, but then you realize, you're like, oh, Scrubs does not have one. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got Mixology, which is about singles at a bar. That's it's from the hangers of the. It was from the writers of The Hangover, so I don't know if it'll be good or if that Hangover was just a one-hit wonder.
Oh.
Trophy Wife, about a former party girl who marries an older man. Back in the Game, about a recently divorced mother who moves in back with her dad, and she decides to coach her son's little league team. And Super Fun Night, about a group of ladies who vow to make each Friday night fun. And then we have a nostalgia-based show, which is kind of like a Wonder Years in the 80s, called The Goldbergs. So I don't know what trends are coming out of these shows. I don't see like any trends.
Honestly, I mean, I'm not excited about any of that. But to be fair, last couple of years I hadn't really been excited about a lot of shows that came out. I mean, I guess for me, I just come across something, and then if I like it, I just kind of stick with it. Because like when 30 Rock and The Office came out, it just so happened that I just kind of came across it. It's like, oh, okay, why not? And I don't know what to expect. A lot of new ones, but guess we'll have to see.
I don't see like any major trends here. Like when The Office became popular, you sort of like saw a lot of shows that would have like the talking to the camera thing.
Yeah, Parks and Recs by the same people.
And then Modern Family. And so that kind of became popular. And when Friends became popular, there was a lot of like Friends, like, young group of 20-somethings hanging out together. But I don't see like anything that's like a major, like a clone of anything. So things may be getting better.
Better or worse? It's tough to say.
I don't know. I don't know whether comedies are getting better or worse.
I guess it's just a mixed bag, honestly. But in the cases of all these, nothing about the description just made me think, oh, I really want to test that out, you know? I guess we're going to have to see what happens.
Well, yeah, apparently the one with Rupert Grint, Ron, whatever his name is, that's been getting, the script at least has been getting good reviews. Mm. So maybe they can live up to the script.
One can help.
I don't know. What do you want comedies in the future to be like?
Funny.
That's all we ask? Good stories?
A good story doesn't hurt.
I think they can be both.
They can be.
Well, I mean, I want lots of different stuff. I want leagues. I want Modern Families. I want Archers. I want different stuff. So, I want everything.
Yeah. I mean, my thing with I said a funny part though, because if it's not funny and it has a good story, it's just another genre.
Yeah.
But with that, it's that's my number one thing. Obviously, I would prefer a good story. But yeah, I really need that funny part. And I'm with you on a different part. I mean, something that stands out, or, they're just not afraid to cross the line. I want to see a lot that just, they kind of do their own thing and they're not playing to, stereotypes or anything. Or if they're going to draw inspiration from previous comedies, I want them to do it well and add something of their own,
Yeah, hopefully they can do it.
Hopefully, yeah.
And who knows, we might see, in the next few years, the emergence of, just a completely online series that we find funny. We have Arrested Development coming out exclusively on Netflix.
And we just, watched the season finale, or the previous so-called series finale of the last season that came out before this. And that was pretty funny. It reminded us all of good times.
And briefly, Amazon, they were making shows too. And they had a Zombieland pilot. Based on the movie. And that got bad reviews, but it's telling you that at least
people are trying.
There's going to be exclusively online shows in the future.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
we're going to have to pay attention to it.
And even before Netflix decided they wanted to do the Arrested Development thing, they've had some series of their own already. It's just I haven't really gone looking for that stuff, but in the future, given how things are, it's why not? Or at least look into some things.
They've had their own original series. They had House of Cards, that was a drama, a political drama, and they had Hemlock Grove, which is a horror series by Eli Roth. So they're going to continue to invest in that, so they don't have to pay other people. And so you're going to see other people like Amazon and probably others, maybe Hulu even. Hulu actually had a comedy series, which is The Office at I forgot what the show was called. It was some election-based series. And that was very mediocre, I watched. But, it wasn't bad, but it was mediocre. But, I think that could be, the future of what we see.
And the other thing is, I think, with online and, channels, on cable, that'll be where the good stuff lies, and I feel on network TV, there might be a good thing here and there, but it'll be so much harder because they are trying to play it safe. They're trying to do what they know will give them ratings. Whether it's good or bad, it's not about that. It's about the ratings. And I think with, online stuff, definitely, they don't have as much to prove. And with, other, networks, say FX, right? Mm. Even though, it's Fox at the end of the day. It's exactly. Fox has already got money out the yin-yang, so they're covered. But with FX, right, they're free to do, what they want to do a little bit more because they know they got the money.
Yeah, and FX is actually making their own comedy channel.
For better or for worse.
So they're splitting up TBS and TNT. So there'll be FX for dramas and serious, and then there'll be FSX for comedies. I don't know which one was which, but anyway.
Yeah.
And another big thing was Nielsen announced that it's pretty soon they're going to start including online watching in Nielsen ratings. So if you watch a show on Hulu, that will count through the ratings.
Oh, and I think that is a big factor these days.
Yeah. So now, the ratings thing's going to be more democratic. If you watch a show online, you could actually be helping the show, and not just the Nielsen families that have the box, because we don't have the box. Yeah. Most of you don't have the box.
Yeah.
But if we but in the future, when we watch a show on Hulu, we can maybe save a show that we like.
Because some shows do get canceled when you're oh, come on. No need for that. Good, and you see some like bad show prosper, and you're like, that's not cool. And one more thing about bad shows, and I mean, I gotta mention it because we didn't mention it. I think a shining example of shitty shows happens to be a lot of the shows on Adult Swim lineup.
Okay. Okay, there's some things I want to say. A lot of those shows are
The fucking same.
It's a very surreal style of humor.
That could be awesome if done right.
And I think we both agree that we just don't get it. We don't like it.
No, I get it. I just think it's stupid. You get it too. You just think it's stupid and we don't like it.
Well, okay, I should say I don't connect with it.
Oh yeah, we don't connect with it because we're not high.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think some of that is like meant to be enjoyed while doing that.
Like, I don't like the style of humor from like Tim and Eric. I just don't like that style.
It's just fucking awful in every way. And it's like, really? They got a show? How the hell did they get a show?
I know a lot of people like that weird, crazy stuff, but I don't like crazy just for the sake of crazy.
No, it has to be good crazy. And with shows like Tim and Eric, it's just like, if you like that, I'm sorry, you're just fucking stupid.
Okay, you don't need to go that far, man.
And yet I am.
Okay,
I don't like it.
I don't think you need to call people for stupid for liking what they like.
Well, if you like a thing that's stupid, what do you expect?
You're in a bad mood because you need some food, I think.
No, I'm not in a bad mood. I'm actually in a decent mood. I just really don't like that show.
Wow.
Dude, you don't understand how much I dislike that.
Okay, I get it.
Like, I mean, I'm more tolerant of Aqua Teen Hunger Force than that show.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of that either, but that has some...
But you don't call people stupid over a TV show?
I do when it's that stupid, yes.
Okay.
But anyway...
I think you need some food.
No, it's not about the damn food, it's about the show, man. It's about the show.
It's about the show.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to get some food when we're done with this, but it's not about the food, it's about the show.
It's about the food, okay.
It's about the show, it's about principles, that is what this is about.
He's office meds too, don't be angry.
I don't take meds, and don't say, oh, maybe you should, because I already saw that coming. But no, it's not about that, I just don't like the show. But I will say one thing about another show that I would consider good, and I think it's just like the other premise would shock most people. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody knows this show. King L.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, so, I mean, we're not going to talk about too much because we have talked about it before. It's just like, it's pretty damn funny, and it's just like, these mediocre, I don't know, how would you describe it? These really like mundane situations.
It's a slice of life
crazy characters, yeah.
It's a slice of life show with crazy characters.
And they make fun of everyone in that show too. And it's like the way they do it. It's just great. And I know I've said it a couple times. It's just like that one character. It's like, oh yeah, Hank. He's super white. It's just the delivery. But Ted Wasanason.
I like the characters in that show.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Rusty Shackelford.
We could do a whole show on alternative identities. I think there's so many of them.
We could, and that might be something in the future to look forward to.
But yeah. So on that,
we talked a little bit about like some things that we consider to be good comedy or bad comedy, or things that we can think contribute to that. And remember, I mean, this is opinion here, not fact. I think it's hard to have facts about this sort of stuff. But that's our views on a lot of that stuff, and some of the things that we're watching now, some of the things that will come out.
And I think, like, if you like a comedy, you should just like it. Like,
yeah. And none of this, oh god, this is a guilty pleasure. No. It's like, you like it, you like it. You shouldn't have to feel guilty about that.
Yeah, if you like Tim and Eric, you should tell Jordan to go fuck himself.
I'll tell you, go fuck yourself right back. I hate that show. Sorry, no, I make that an exception. I mean, seriously, have you seen that? Like, I've seen like 5 minutes and I'm just like, fuck it.
Are you trying to troll the Tim and Eric fans so we get more comments and views?
No, I'm just trying to help them realize that it's fucking stupid. Though, I'm not gonna knock that.
Alright, so, this was our comedy episode.
Yeah, we, hope you found some insightful things, and we hope you actually did laugh, because, I mean, we do a lot of these, analyses. Yeah, whatever,
Now, aside, Jordan.
God, that just sounds stupid, though.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of these shows about, like, analysis of this concept, that concept. But, I mean, part of the thing that we're doing when we're doing this is we're we want to make ourselves laugh, and we hope that we make you laugh.
I was
so.
laughing at this.
Someone out there may laugh at this. You don't know.
Okay, I'm Cameron.
Maybe they're high and they're enjoying us right now.
Let's end this. I'm Cameron.
And I'm Jordan, and I hope you enjoyed our show. And laughed, okay? Next time. We'll see you next time.